Good afternoon, and thank you for joining our webinar discussing digital transformation. How can the cloud help? With me today is our cloud solution architect, Greg, with over 20 years experience, and myself, Mark, an IT consultant for 15 years. Both of us have focused on delivering technology services to help businesses succeed and grow in challenging and changing environments. There'll be a Q&A session at the end of this webinar where you can pose your questions. Through the session, we'll be running a number of polls to hear from you and keep this as interactive as we can. The views, opinions, and content of this webinar are from our own experience and takeaways. The 30-minute webinar will look at the key business drivers and challenges for digital transformation, discussing how to plan your cloud migration and understanding your cloud journey. Over to you, Greg.
Thanks, Mark. Good afternoon, guys. So on the screen, there's a number of bullets that I'm going to leave you to read at your own leisure. What is digital transformation? So digital transformation is not necessarily just about digital technology, but the integration of technology into all areas of the business. Fundamentally changing how they operate and deliver value to customers, releasing operational efficiencies and organizational performance, and maintaining current revenue streams and even looking for new ones. Whilst the need for digital transformation is clearly present with so many different types of businesses, the process of digital transformation will be quite unique. So why are people looking to transform? Now, there's a number of reasons. Gaining a competitive edge. Businesses want to offer a world-class customer service and interaction. Increase, discover new revenue streams. They want to be the best in the sector, and bottom line, remain ahead of any of the competition. I'm going to pass you to Mark, who's going to give you some interesting stats now.
In May this year, we asked 100 IT decision makers a number of questions about their IT and challenges. The key takeaways were: digital transformation is the single biggest priority for 2 in 5 of respondents until 2021. And in addition to digital transformation, migration to the cloud and hybrid cloud services are seen as the top 3 hottest technology trends in 2019. Following on from this interesting research, we're here to talk to you about transformation and how the cloud can help you and explore the challenges. Some examples of digital transformation triggers include how your clients are purchasing your products or services in a world that is quickly enabling your clients to self-serve. How do you give them access to your services and products, and how do you differentiate from the competition so they can come to you? With the increase of the data and information available, your users are creating, consuming, and interrogating this data in more different ways than ever before. How do you provide access to this data to users with differing requirements, differing skill sets, and with the new generation, differing consumption methods? Organizations are initiating transformation to drive a competitive edge and, quite simply, to remain viable in the marketplace. The challenges driving this transformation in data center infrastructure and solutions may include any of the following: exponential data growth, managing legacy systems, security issues, variable and/or dynamic workloads, budgets, and more. How can we make this happen? Over to you, Greg.
Thanks, Mark. The answer, in my humble opinion, there's 3 elements at the core of transformation in cloud. Solutions require the following at a minimum. They need to be flexible, scalable, and most importantly, simple. Ultimately, IT want to spend more time being proactive rather than reactive, and in turn, spend more time innovating within the business and adding value. Following on from the previous slide, the right cloud solution and partner will enable you to transform and become innovators. We've seen this more often. Our customers are even producing additional revenues out of their IT teams. Customers who are adopting transformation and cloud can be placed into 2 distinct categories. laggards or leaders. Now, digital transformation emphasizes evolving to thrive in a digital economy. For example, using smart devices, connected sensors, getting data-driven insights to out-innovate, out-think, and outpace the competition. Transformation focuses on embracing change to become the disruptor, not the disruptive. Now, let's look at some recent examples. So, everyone remembers Kodak, right? So, very big in the 90s and noughties. They employed 145,000 people. They turned over $5.7 billion in 2005. And by 2011, they were bankrupt. They still exist, but they only employ around 4% of the staff that they did in the noughties, and they've failed to transition into the digital world. On the other hand, you've got Instagram. These are leaders in the marketplace. They're a software company. You take pictures on your commodity cameras, your iPhones, your Android phones, put it into Instagram. This company is valued over $100 billion at the moment. Toys R Us, these guys, they were just not dynamic enough in a competitive marketplace. In 2017, there was £100 million injected into the business, but this was too late and the administrators were called in. On the other hand, leaders in the space, Amazon. Innovation, customer service, execution, and outstanding user experience. These are all things that we link to Amazon. Transformations played a huge part in their success. Everyone remembers Blockbuster, 2004. These were a massive, massive business. Everyone remembers Blockbuster. They were down every single local high street, spending your Friday nights, spending hours deciding on what film to watch. Well, 2004, these guys globally had $6 billion revenue. 2010, they were bankrupt. They failed to recognize the competitive landscape and recognize the timing. People like Netflix coming along, these are leaders in the sector. Other companies are playing catch up now. Disney's purchase of Fox is a recent direct result of Netflix success. Our business needs to understand there's many factors to consider when looking at digital transformation and cloud.
Agreed, Greg. As with most things, what is presented to the person consuming information really is the tip of the iceberg, with users and clients wanting access to systems, services, and ultimately data easily and wherever they are. The back-end work is the significant understanding where the risks are that are hidden is imperative to the successful of a digital transformation, where the users only see what is above the surface. Consider a swan, graceful, yet the legs paddling at 100 miles an hour. Several factors to consider include driving cost efficiency and security and the end user experience. You've probably heard the term cloud first. It's bandied around a lot. Let's talk about it.
So the majority of customers that I speak to, they've already adopted a cloud-first strategy. They've moved core business applications to SaaS and PaaS platforms. They've adopted infrastructure as a service and OpEx-based elastic cloud solutions from various providers. Cloud-first is still very much active. Some customers have come to realize that not all of the workloads are suitable. Other customers feel like they're losing control of their IT infrastructure and they're looking to repatriate back to private cloud, get back tighter control and security, performance and costs, etc. Some interesting stats here from IDC, which show a year-on-year increase where customers are repatriating workloads back to on-premise. Hosted, private cloud, in some instances on-premise, private, or even non-cloud solutions and traditional infrastructure. There's no surprise here. The top drivers are security, performance, and cost, all of which are very difficult to control in public cloud infrastructure. Cloud first, along with multi-cloud, they're no longer buzzwords. They've become the norm. It's no longer a question of which cloud you consume, but more a question of how many. There's several services which offer a go compare side by side comparison for workload placement. This technology allows business to make informed decisions on their workloads, where the best place to put them from a cost, performance, and services point of view. And in the majority of cases, it can even provide seamless and transparent migrations. So digital transformation is a journey, not a destination. Ultimately, organizations need to increase business agility and flexibility. They want new ways to deliver services that allow their organizations to evolve business models and compete better in the market. The infrastructure has to support all of this. They require the most robust, proven hardware and software offerings for both large and small organizations. Typical phases of this journey involve your physical to virtual transformation. Today, most Fortune 100 customers have led the way in adopting virtualization, and most of them use VMware technologies. Phase 2, virtual to cloud. So where customers have experienced efficiencies that come from virtualization, savvy IT leaders have begun to move workloads into the cloud for even greater efficiencies. However, they realise that even with investment in public clouds like Amazon Web Services and Microsoft Azure, who are developing new cloud-first applications, a large amount of the workloads still remain on-premise. Success lies ultimately in making the platforms work together. So what's next? Hybrid and multi-cloud. It's not truly a separate cloud type like private and public clouds are, but a cloud computing model that uses an orchestrated mix of on-premise, private cloud, and third-party public cloud services. Connectivity and consistency is key. Legacy cloud, let's call it that, saw customers running a mixture of workloads in VMware, some in Microsoft Azure. This can create a number of challenges. VMware and Microsoft are two different operating systems, two different hypervisors. The true cloud operating model requires consistency. Public cloud innovation is driving the pace of change. You look at VMware in AWS, and announced earlier this year, VMware in Azure. Connect the dots with strong connectivity strategy, and you've got true mobility of workloads between clouds and geographies without any of the complexities or compromise. This is only one option. There's literally hundreds. So what's happening in our infrastructure market right now? Let's discuss some. So private cloud evolution, we've got, it's evolved from traditional three-tier IT systems where there was massive complexity and support silos. We have guys that support the network, guys that support the storage, guys that support the compute, guys that support the hypervisor, none of which talked and usually pointed fingers of blame at one another whenever there was a challenge. So hyperconvergence came along to address this. Customers are moving away from building and owning unique siloed solutions and instead moving towards tested working solutions that can be switched on out of the box, uninterrupted, built from commodity hardware with simplicity and performance in mind. So contributing to that is the concept of software defined. So since we now believe in virtualizing everything and anything on top of standardized commodity scale out platforms without sacrificing performance and gaining out resiliency and in some cases almost indestructibility. And let's talk about containerized. So this is an emerging technology. Since that's the lightweight modern approach to making sure that all the microservices that make a bigger system work in one small code-defined package. So customers are creating infrastructure from code, serverless, if you like. Containers allow us to do this. There's several technology partners who lead in this area, and some examples on the slide. There's literally hundreds more. We've got public cloud, hyperscalers, the likes of Azure and AWS leading the way. A lot of innovation in these technologies ends up filtering into private cloud. And we've got hybrid and multi-cloud. So as mentioned earlier, it's not a separate technology as such, but a business operating model. Connectivity is crucial for this to work properly. Partnering with a CSP, which is a global network, is an enormous benefit to your business. This allows us to connect your infrastructure from on-premise to public cloud seamlessly. So high-performing, dedicated connectivity underpins digital transformation. Businesses need more dedicated connectivity to access more information, connect new devices, host more content and manage their applications. Amongst recent technological developments, connectivity has had the greatest impact on business. And what does this mean to business? Over to you, Mark.
All of the elements that have been highlighted are key business drivers. If understanding them unlocks the ability to identify what technology and strategy you should undertake. If looking for new revenue streams, the business is looking for how technology can add value, enabling it to reach new customers or launch new products. Equally, reviewing and identifying areas where efficiency gains can be made can be a driver. Does the existing way the process works meet our new way of working? Is the investment a capital or operational expenditure? Does the decision drive the speed that new technologies can adapt? We've all heard the response to the question, why do you do it that way? Because it's the way we've always done it.
As a result of transformation, we'll be having less product level conversations and shift focus on achieving business and strategic priorities. Things like data center modernization, integration with cloud, public, private, empowering the digital workplace, transforming network and security, consuming everything as a service. It can actually become somewhat disruptive. So examples of changes that digital transformation affects several areas. We've got IT, we've got business, we've got society. So in IT, we're seeing unprecedented amounts of actionable data being generated. We need a place to store this and capture that data and analyze it. Digitizing analog spaces, the NHS and patient records. Commoditizing hardware, creating software-defined data centers and consuming everything as a service. From a business point of view, there's a constant need to innovate. The shifting role of IT into, from just being your back office IT people to actually being business enabling and generating value. OPEX, not CAPEX, as Mark mentioned earlier. And let's be honest, there's a big adjustment in culture that needs to come with transformation. It's not just IT that we're thinking about, it's different ways of working. And in society, 24/7, 365, consumer world, downtime's not acceptable. We want things instantly, anytime, anywhere, any device. If the place where we normally buy it from isn't available or doesn't have it available, we just go to the next place. It's that cutthroat. Ultimately, it can also increase quality of life and customer service. We're expecting the best all the time. Digital transformation, it'll disrupt IT, but it also disrupts business and society as a whole. So where do we start? Well, first of all, you need to start by making sure you've got the right partner, someone like M247. We lead with assessments and consultation. We have to define business objectives at the beginning of the engagement. We need to lift the hood. We need to understand the workloads, existing challenges, if there is any. Perhaps do a cloud readiness assessment. We've got stakeholders, sponsors, buy-in, mental barriers, CAPEX versus OPEX, workforce, understand your user base. You've got remote, power exec, generic, bring your own device challenges. the applications, license challenges, SaaS options, performance, latency, data locality requirements, compliance, things like GDPR, DPA, auditing, Sarbanes-Oxley, for example, security, firewall, role-based access control, edge, perimeter detection, mobile device management, connectivity, bandwidth, latency, cloud, SD-WAN, availability, high availability, geography, geolocations, international footprints. There's a lot to consider, and all of this needs to be factored in.
Understanding the applications and what you have and what their requirements are on infrastructure is key with that assessment. The bandwidth and appropriate backup circuits that are the foundations of a successful cloud migration will bring stability for future of deployment of any cloud or digital transformation. Where do you need your performance? Can the performance be delivered from the cloud, or does it need to remain local? This is as simple as how big are the files that you're trying to transfer or printing. What are the regulations you have to adhere to? GDPR, DPA and Sarbanes-Oxley are top of this list, but what about the ones that are industry specific to your business? Compliance is a key. Can these be delivered from a SaaS-based app platform? Applications are being delivered by the vendor through a rental model now. Also, application compatibility. Do they link to other applications? What will those links be required? And can they run with the compatibility? For example, Office 365 is going to always be pushed to be on the latest version. Is that going to be compatible with your application? Legacy applications retain data for the business. Is this still accessed, or is it something that can be archived, reducing the cost and overhead, but still giving access to the data should it ever be needed? How long can the business operate when a disaster strikes, leaving you without some or all IT? What would users do in the event of a disaster to keep the business bringing in money? Successful deployments need user adoption and benefits to be seen. If the user experience is poor, you'll suffer long term. Ensuring the data is well protected, and in the event of a cybersecurity attack, you have to plan to restore the data cleanly and with the minimum of impact. What needs to stay on site on what needs to stay in the cloud are rarely the answer to all of your business needs. There will be some elements that remain on site or are better suited to a private cloud provider.
So here's some considerations for you when it comes to platform selection. So on the left is traditional public infrastructure, and on the right, it's traditional infrastructure, and on the right is public cloud infrastructure. There's some questions and food for thought on this slide. What is the best option for your business and workloads? Can you answer the question around that you see, how can I reduce CapEx and OpEx as your CFO wants? Is it the best fit for all my IT workloads? There's lots to consider. As business adopt more cloud services, we've got to consider each workload and application on a case-by-case basis. Existing workloads have several drivers. Typically, we're looking to reduce cost, increase security, make the service more reliable, whilst retaining control. Workloads fall into several categories. We've got existing workloads, we've got cloud-native workloads. Cloud-native workloads are the type of workloads that begin their journey in a cloud. For example, a service that you may consume from Amazon directly to fulfill a business requirement, cloud-native workload. Existing workloads tend to be on-prem or co-located, even to some extent in public cloud running as infrastructure. We need to look at how or the challenges associated with these workloads. We can do one of 5 things. We can modernize, and this is typically a legacy application. These are things that are difficult to migrate to cloud. They'll benefit from an uplift in underlying infrastructure from a performance point of view. For example, we can introduce all flash, high performance, low latency networks. These can provide that legacy application with a required boost for now. Example of this in the past, spoken to customers who are looking to migrate from SAP to SAP HANA. That is a very expensive project to complete. A quick win in the past has been the introduction of some very high performance, low latency all-flash storage for a fraction of the cost to tide them over until that project is fully finalized. So, the second option, utilize hybrid infrastructure. This is where we have multi-tiered applications. So we've got web front end, we've got the application tier, we've got a database tier. We may have requirements from a security point of view to keep that database tier on premise in the UK. The web tier, however, we need to be able to turn the dial up, turn the dial down alongside customer demand. We could load balance that, we could run it in AWS, we could run it in Azure, for example. What underpins it all is connectivity. So we've got refactoring. This is modifying applications. So basically where we're actually building a new environment and migrating the data. So 2003 workloads that might still be knocking around. How do we get the data from those? And we push that into 2016, 2019, for example. Develop for cloud. So, we talked about it earlier, containers, a code-based infrastructure, platform as a service, that kind of thing. And then we've got replace, and this is workloads where, we've got several vendors now who offer solutions natively from the cloud. Examples, Salesforce, Zoho, MS Dynamics, they're all available in SaaS offerings.
I'll leave you to read the contents of this slide. Ultimately, the measure of success of a cloud transformation strategy for most business is an increase in the bottom line. However, we can't ignore that there are additional tangible benefits, such as employee well-being, with reduced stress levels and more efficient working practices, increased production with the same staffing levels, or the ability for flexible working practices are all good key indicators that the strategy is right. So what I'm going to cover here, I've just got a couple of examples for you. Reasons why the cloud is being chosen. Why are people wanting to adopt rather than just replace existing hardware with on-premise? So customer of mine, a multi-site, builders, merchants, they've got aging hardware and they're looking to what to do next. The key really for driving them was around changing their operational model in the time where putting a significant investment in capital expenditure wasn't desired. And ultimately, being multi-sited, they had a limited IT resource to be able to cover all of these sites. By reducing the overhead of the employee and utilizing cloud, what they were able to do was really drive that efficiency. The IT manager was then able to focus on core applications, and as well the business got a fringe benefit, which was the RPO and RTO in a disaster. They were no longer tied to the risk that if something happened to their site. Moving on, completely different scenario here, single site manufacturing organization. And really what happens is that time where the IT manager was looking to retire. What do? Do you replace that person? But ultimately, the key driver was the business had an MRP system that was looking to move to a SaaS-based platform. The vendor was offering that. So therefore, the remaining IT was very, very light. Core file services and print, and obviously your traditional Active Directory and domain services. And then by moving those to the cloud, blended with something from the public cloud where you've got the Office 365 for your core applications, really drove the business to realize that they didn't actually need to replace the IT manager. The services that they were going to consume were delivered to them.
Good story. So how can the cloud help? Well, here at M247, we have a vision of a connected future. So we'll be the most innovative market-leading connectivity and cloud service provider in the world, delivering fully resistant and resilient solutions to growing business. We enable customers to grow faster than the competitors, connect with more places, serve more customers, and make more of the people. We'll be agile, create innovative technology solutions underpinned by our global reach and best-in-class customer experience. So you need a platform that provides consistency from edge to core to cloud, and a partner that fully understands your business requirements and supports your cloud or indeed multi-cloud strategy going forward. I hope you found this webinar informative and insightful. We'll take a moment to answer your questions. Okay, so we've got a couple of questions here. So question number one here from Paul. How easy is it to migrate to cloud services? So I'll answer this one, Mark. You know, the answer is it can be very, very simple if you've got the right help from a partner. As discussed earlier on, it's all about understanding the workloads and challenges, basically outlining what the business requirements are and making sure that we meet and match them with a technology solution. There's loads of tools available these days that allow us to move workloads non-disruptively between clouds with different infrastructures. You know, for example, we can move from Azure to AWS, AWS to Azure, Azure back to on-premise. You know, we've got tools that can help with this. So yeah, hopefully that's answered your question.
Cool. I was going to say, I can see one that's just come in from Steve. So what do you need to look for in a partner to help with digital transformation and a cloud migration? I think the key thing you're looking for is an element of trust. You need a partner that, firstly understands you as a business and what the core business drivers are rather than the technology stack, so to speak, and that you trust that they have got the right build of technology services behind them, with the right kind of build set and the correct level of customer service that you're expecting, because ultimately you're putting your data and your services out of reach of potentially your business and need to get that back. So you need to trust them quite implicitly. Great.
And there's one more question from Terry. So how long would it typically take to get a solution up and running? How long's a piece of string is the answer to that one. It depends on the requirements again and business objectives. Typically, if we're looking to, you know, if you're an M247 on-net customer with connectivity, a virtual data center can be up and running in an hour or two. If we need to get a public cloud solution up and running, again, it's a very quick turnaround, and it all depends on the connectivity really. But yeah, the answer is a very short space of time. Okay, there's no more questions that I can see. So I'd just like to thank you guys for taking the time out to listen to our webinar, and have a great afternoon. Thank you.
Thanks, guys.